Hey everybody, whether you're buying or selling a home, you always want to know how the professional, the real estate broker that you're working with, how they get paid and how the commissions work in real estate. So we're going to break all this down. You're not going to want to miss it. So let's do it. All right, everybody. Hey, like I said, we're going to talk about commissions today. I'm Doug Schauf with the Make Maine Your Home team over Remax Oceanside. And, you know, as a real estate broker, we, of course, get asked all the time, hey, how do you get paid? What do you get out of this? Or when we're listing a house for sale, it's like, hey, what are the commissions? How much money do I have to give you? All of those are great questions. So we're going to kind of break down how it all works. So bear with me, because by the end of all this, hopefully you're going to walk away going, I know how it all works. At least that's the hope. Us as real estate brokers, we don't get paid until we're sitting at the house, or most of us. So the commission is basically a fee paid for selling or buying a home. Our service is helping you through that process. Typically, it's a percentage of the final sale. Like when we're sitting at closing, everybody's signing on the dotted line. That's when the commissions are dispersed. And typically, it's a percentage of the sale. So the traditional commission structure is basically the seller of the home is the one who's paying the commissions. As a listing broker, you're working with a seller and we charge X percentage to sell their home. Okay, so what we do with that is we take that X percentage, and historically we cut that in half, and the buyer broker, we're compensating them for bringing the buyer to buy the house and working with that buyer. So half of the commission goes to the person working with the seller, and half of it goes to the broker working with the buyer. And that's the total commission, and it's usually split between the two agents. So that's the traditional way of how real estate commissions work. When we're doing this, obviously there's an agreement, there's a contract between us as a listing broker who's representing the seller, and it's between the listing agent or the agency, the office, and the seller. And that's going to explain how what the commission is, how it's divvied up, to us, to the buyer broker, to what they might call a transaction broker, which I'm not going to confuse all that, but the buyer broker and the listing broker. And that is typically negotiated between the listing broker and the seller, the person who's selling the property. So that's how the listing agents get compensated with their commission. So the buyer commission is, like we talked about briefly here, is paid by the seller. It's, it's part of that total commission that's being split between the listing agent and the buyer agent. Oftentimes, you as a buyer, your professional that's sitting there in your corner is going to be paid as part of the purchase price. It's already built in there. It's not extra. It's potentially, no charge. It's already in there. I don't want to say that the buyer broker services are free, because it's obviously part of the price and you're paying for it, but it's already there. It's already negotiated with the seller and the listing broker. So it's already there, which is really nice. I always tell any buyer, there's really no reason why you shouldn't have a professional next to you helping you through this process, because it is paid out of part of that purchase price. There's a couple small exceptions that we'll talk about here in a minute, but overall, that's typically how it works, which is really great. So if you're out there thinking, hey, I want to buy a house, but I don't know what the heck I'm doing, call a real estate broker. We're going to be able to, start to finish, get you, taken care of. And our fees are basically paid for out of the purchase price on the majority of sales. It's really a great way to help buyers, and make sure that you're taken care of. Next I want to talk about is negotiating commissions. Negotiating the commissions are typically done with the listing broker and the seller. And negotiate away. We typically charge a specific percentage, that we charge. And we, when we sit down with somebody, we explain why we charge this. And we also explain what we do. And we do a lot regarding like marketing the house and all that kind of stuff for our clients. Every broker is different, but everybody does a certain amount of work for that to get the word out and market the property and get potential buyers into the house. But that can be negotiated. If you're a seller out there, there's certainly no harm to try to negotiate that commission. And then also, like on the buyer side, sometimes in the marketplace, what happens is maybe the commission to the buyer's broker is very low, and that might have to be negotiated. So there can be some talks, through that way. So I guess the general rule of thumb is everything can be negotiated and talked about, which kind of comes to our next bullet point, is transparency and disclosure. Here at the Make Maine Your Home team, we love to just communicate and make sure everybody knows everything, go into everything with your eyes wide open. So we're very transparent as far as how everything works, where the commissions are coming from, who's getting paid, how they're getting paid. All of that stuff should be talked to. Most brokers, I think, should be sitting down with their clients, whether it's a seller or buyer, explaining all this. And I strongly believe that most of them do. So you just want to make sure that, when you are working with somebody, if you're kind of trying to educate yourself here, when you are sitting down with your broker, make sure you ask these questions. Make sure you learn about how this works and how your professional, your real estate broker is getting paid and all that kind of stuff. So we really do like transparency and disclosure around all of that. There's a couple of unique scenarios and exceptions to all this, and I do want to point out just a couple, and specifically on the buyer side. There is probably one time that you might have to talk about commissions. At least here in Maine, on our buyer agreements, there's a section of how we get paid, and we talk about how the MLS system tells us what we're getting paid, et cetera, et cetera. But there's also like a for sale by owner line item. If you're driving down the road and you see a sign on somebody's house that says for sale by owner, X price, call the owner directly. You're still going to want to call your real estate broker to step in and make those phone calls for you. Or another scenario is in a really aggressive or hard seller's market where you got to, try to find houses off market. Like us, for example, we do a lot of door knocking for our buyers. Like, hey, I like this neighborhood. So we go knock on all the doors, or we'll call around, these neighborhoods. And if we find somebody that says, yes, I want to sell my house, technically that's a first sale by owner. They're not represented by a listing broker. What we do in those scenarios is we're going to negotiate that with the seller directly. So whatever purchase price we finalize, it's going to include the compensation for us as buyer brokers. And that way it's still built into the price. But that's typically going back to the transparency and disclosure. If that happens with my clients, that's going to be discussed again, even though we might have talked about it, back in the beginning, but I'm going to make sure that they know exactly what's happening in all of these scenarios that when it comes up. So that's really the one time when I represent buyers that, we do have to talk about commissions and how it's all going to work. In conclusion, value the professionals that are out there. Find a good real estate broker that you like and you enjoy and you trust, and really lean on them to help you out. They're professionals for a reason. And most real estate brokers earn their money and work very hard for their clients and protect their clients. And you should really take advantage of that and make sure that you understand exactly how everybody's getting paid and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, hey, hopefully you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, comment below. And also remember to subscribe. We do a video like once or twice a week. We'd love to hear from you. So subscribe, hit that little bell. That way you're notified when new videos come out. Comment below. And remember, if you make Maine your home, you don't have to do it alone. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and one of these buttons over here. You get a lot of great information about real estate, the state of Maine, cool things to do, all that kind of stuff. And of course, if you have any questions at any time, comment below or hit us up on all social media platforms, and we'd love to help you out. And we love talking about Maine and real estate in Maine.